Welcome back for our special keynote address coming from Kenya. Unfortunately, the ambassador is apparently still at the airport, so we're not sure if he's going to make it, but luckily his commercial attaché is here, who actually has the text of the ambassador, so he's kindly agreed to present the text of the ambassador. We would be very happily surprised if the ambassador doesn't in fact come, but if not, it's okay. We're very, very happy to have the commercial attaché here, and we very much look forward to having the perspectives of Kenya conference. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Oliver Konje is the commercial attaché of the Embassy of Kenya. He began this position in May of 2011. Before that, he was actually based in Kenya as Chief Trade Development Officer at the Ministry of Trade. Before that, he actually worked in academia, and he was a lecturer at two places, the Kenya Institute of Business Training, as well as the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. In the meantime, he also worked a little bit in the private sector itself as a consultant on business, management, and finance. And he was initially born in Lake Victoria, Kenya. So I think what's interesting today, through the eyes of a commercial attaché, we can really see how also the cultural bridge, in my opinion, very often can influence the economic bridge, and vice versa. And especially when we're talking about the relations between Europe and Africa, I think that's crucial. So often that cultural bridge serves as a barrier. So I'm hoping we can hear some optimism on behalf of Kenya in terms of how one can flip it and really turn that cultural bridge into a positive to enable trade, development, etc., as opposed to just these discussions about aid that I think we're all getting tired of. I think really what Africa needs, as we all agree, is trade, not aid. And so I think in that sense, the cultural bridge, I think, really can play a vital role in developing also the economic bridges. The topic that we actually agreed together with the ambassador is cultural bridges between Kenya and Germany in the context of globalization and multiculturalism. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a very, very warm welcome for Mr. Oliver Konje.
Thank you, Mike. Mark, I'm glad to be here, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share with you. As you have heard, my name is Oliver Konje from the Kenya Embassy. And Kenya is based in Africa, East Africa. Eastern part of Africa, that is, we are bordering the Indian Ocean. Kenya is also within East African community where we have Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, that make up East Africa. Kenya is the strongest economy in the whole of Southern Sahara in Eastern African region, competing with only South Africa, and quite a well-developed country in terms of infrastructure, economic infrastructure, and so forth. In Kenya, basically, we have 42 tribes. Here, we'll be talking about 42 nationalities. But it is said that we are more than 42 tribes because as we look deep down into dialects, we realize that we are more than 42 because of different dialects. Based on that, we have learned to coexist because of that diversity. We also have, apart from those dialects, we also have the Indians living in Kenya who came before 1900 because they came to trade with Kenya. We have Arabs who came to trade with Kenya for many years along the coastal part of Kenya. And out of intermarriage, something developed which was very unique, cultural, that the marriage between Arabs and the Kenyan African coastal area gave birth to what we call the Swahili people. So Swahili is a mixture of African language and Arabic. And that sometimes when we speak Kiswahili, an Arab can pick a few words, the same with Indians. So we are quite mixed, and we also have the Europeans because of colonization. You know, we were one of the biggest British territory in Eastern Africa. And we also have others from different regions, from China, Japan, and Europe as a whole. So we are quite mixed. And for that reason, we have realized that diversity is a strength and not a weakness. And in relation to that, we have realized that through our differences, we develop languages. There are different lifestyles that emerges. Population dimensions comes up, whereby right now we have about 75% of Kenyans are below 50 years of age. So if somebody wants to campaign in Kenya and go to parliament or go campaign for presidency, you have to focus on the youth and not on the old. That's when you can succeed. We also have, out of that, different learning styles, character, inclinations, habits, attitudes develop because of such kind of mixed. But one thing I can say is that we respect cultures, we respect races, we respect tribes, and that is what has enabled us to coexist all this time. If we come to Germany, Germany has a long-term history with Kenya. It is said that it was the first country in the world to acknowledge Kenya as an independent state. But beside that, we have missionaries who came to Kenya from Germany, like Rebman. And when they came to Kenya, they settled along the coastal region, and they were the first missionary to write Kiswahili Bible. The Kiswahili Bible which we have, which has been developed and has been improved in terms of language, was written by German missionaries. Because the Germans believed that you need to be proud of your language. So Germans encouraged in Kiswahili speaking. And for that reason, we have that kind of relationship that has grown with the time. But in relation to that, we also have a relationship in the field of sports, whereby some German groups come to Kenya to train our young people in soccer. And as you know, that Kenya is maybe, if not the one, but maybe the strongest athletic country in the world in terms of long races. And therefore, sometimes we get Germans coming over to do practice in the highland areas. By the way, Kenya is not a desert. Only a small portion of Kenya in the north is desert. We have savanna type of climate. We have woodland type of climate. We have island type of climate. We have mountainous type of climate, to the extent that we also enjoy snows on the high mountains, like Mount Kenya, like Mount Kilimanjaro at the border, and so forth. So the climate is favorable to all of you, so please come to Kenya. So because of that diversity in terms of physical features, we find that our people are doing very well in sports. And therefore, we thank the government of Germany working with us in those areas. We also realize that in order for us to have a strong multiculturalism, we must also focus on language. In Kenya, we have German schools, and we also have Goethe Institute in Nairobi that are actually teaching German, and there are Kenyans who are German speakers. Not because they have come to Germany, they have never been here, but they're German speakers. I'm a father of 3 sons. They are all in Kenya. My firstborn is in the university. He's doing a neuroscience, but he was told, this course you must take 1 foreign language. So my son is taking a German language as a foreign language. So we are that kind of a nation. The reason is that language is excellent tool for promoting culture, understanding of dynamism in language development, and language is the most dynamic aspect of culture in general. It is able to integrate us. It is able to help us understand each other. The language also help us to know how people speak and react. People say that language is a key tool in transforming people and helping people to know how to relate with one another. In Germany here, you know Deutsche Welle. Deutsche Welle has a broadcast called Kiswahili broadcast. And therefore, it is propagating our culture through the language. We are also having exchange programs in Kenya, between Kenya and Germany. DAD has been doing very well. DAD has been doing very well. We call it in Kenya DAD. Okay, DAD, DAD. So if you can you forget, you just remember your dad and remember dad. Now, DAD has been doing very well in Kenya in terms of exchange programs. Right now, we have so many Kenyans here who has been brought forward and are doing masters, PhDs, students in Germany here through DAD. But before they do that, they are also integrated in the society by learning language for 6 months, even though PhD is done in English, but it is important in terms of relating with each other, understanding one another. So it has been a good tool for integration. And on the basis of that, we have some key Kenyans who have gone through DAD and have climbed the ladder, like the late Professor Wangare Maathai was a DAD alumni, like the present Prime Minister of Kenya, Odinga, a DAD alumni. We have our ambassador who was sponsored by DAD. So we have those kind of programs between us and your country. When it's come to youth exchange programs, we also have youth programs between Kenya and Germany, and it has been very good because it has helped the youth to bridge the gap. And how it has helped the youth to bridge the gap is that it has helped in cultural integration when youth exchange programs which they have in high school, in churches, and so forth. We also have some youth socioeconomic empowerment between Kenya and Germany, and this has led to what we call exchange of knowledge, concept, information, income initiative, generating activities, job creation, joint ventures, and so forth. But beside that, we are also seeing a situation whereby the youth are now exchanging their calendar of activities, whereby they are able to come to Kenya during a specific time and others forth and back. Yesterday and today in the morning, I was talking to one of the German students who want to go and be in Kenya for 6 months. And what she wants to do, she wants to go and work with the disadvantaged children in the slum ministry for 6 months. So we encourage such so that people may understand us better. It is said that people behave differently based on their culture. If I look at you like this, and after some time I look away, it doesn't mean that I hate you. In my culture, you cannot steadily look at somebody on the eye for several minutes. Once in a while, you look away. But in the East, if you do that, they think that you are not honest. So culture, understanding culture is very important. And that's the reason why I'm here, that we may share on the same issues. But as we integrate and we share and we exchange programs, and our politicians have been coming continuously to share various aspects of Kenya, and your ministers and leaders goes to Kenya, share different aspects. We have realized that the more we integrate and we understand one another, the more we do business together, because we are able to realize that we have differences in the field and we can capture or capitalize on the same, on our differences. But there are some barriers and challenges when it's come to intercultural relations. One of them is which, before I came here, we're discussing with one of the Germans, is visa and other immigration-related issues. This has been a challenge to both sides, in the sense that some people want to do business there, their visas are delayed. Those people want to come this way, their visas, those kind of challenges are there, but we are hoping to tackle them on the basis of our relationship. But they are minimal, a few cases that are there, because we also know there are people who do not want to come to Germany for the right, maybe, purpose, but for their own purpose that must be considered. We also have financial and material constraints for exchange programs, because like a high school student or a university student who is not working, you want to be in Kenya for several months, you must also figure out how much it will cost you to be there. And sometimes that cost may affect your desire to be in Kenya, to be in Africa, to be in America, or to be in another country. We also have the language barrier. The language barrier is there, the sense that we were not colonized by Germans and were colonized by the British. British is our second national language after Kiswahili. So we speak more of English than German. So if you're speaking if somebody is speaking German, it means that he learned that as a what we call optional subject in the high school. So that kind of a challenge is there, but I do believe that along the way, as people integrate, we will overcome it. There are also some other challenges in terms of time zones, seasons, and structural differences. For example, the way we have structured our education system is slightly different from the way you structure your education system. So when we come, it becomes a challenge, and that's the reason why I had to leave my children behind, because at the stage where they were, they could not come and integrate properly. Even if they were to come to international schools, there will still be some challenges because of the differences in terms of the school structure. And those are some of the challenges that we meet. Like when you are having your summer, back at home, people are in school. We go for holidays in December, April, August. Is the other way around. So that brings some elements of challenge when it's come to exchange program. So when it's come to economic issues, the cultural aspect is also very strong. For example, if I'm doing a business with you, you cannot come always to be telling me hi. I will find it offensive. I would like to have a handshake. And a handshake. That is a cultural thing. That tells me you are actually with me. So that is a cultural thing. And it's the same with you. You may have it differently. So when we are doing business, we also observe that. We also observe how people talk. Sometimes you may find most of us from Africa, we speak with a lot of force. Well, a German will speak very softly. He will speak with a lot of force. Now, and that you may wonder, why is this person shouting at me? Well, he should be just talking. Well, on his side, he's actually not shouting. He's actually making the point clear. So you see that kind of a thing. So in the process, when you learn more about differences in culture, it helps you to integrate with people. It also helps you to know how to go around some issues when it's come even to what we call economic negotiations. I worked in a department in external trade whereby we're doing much of negotiations. I was in Asia, charge of Asia, and we're doing a lot of negotiations, and sometimes those negotiations can be rough because everyone wants his portion out of what you are negotiating. So if you don't understand the other side and their culture, sometimes you can easily reach a point whereby you are not going anywhere with your negotiations. So these things are important. Otherwise, I beg to stop there and give you a chance to ask any question.
Thank you so much for the nice information that you gave. We are here since 3 days, and finally there is one speaker who was talking about a success story, which was a pleasure for me personally to hear that. So congratulations and go on, please. At least a country has succeed about to live together with multicultures. As you say, 69 dialects and 42 minority groups. Congratulations.
I have a question about people who come from Kenya to Germany. I'm not sure to what degree that happens or how many people in Germany have Kenyan background, but I'm curious if basically how these people feel in Germany in terms of being accepted. Do they ever feel that there are any problems or miscommunications between the Germans here when they come to visit for school programs like you were saying, or for any other programs?
Well, the most highlighted one is the language. They say that German language is a bit technical because sometimes it is different from speaking it and writing it. Because sometimes you are speaking it, and when it comes to writing, you may start with the end of your sentence the other way around. And these are some of the challenges they face, but along the way they learn to cope up with it when it's come to integration. The other aspect is that which have come across all over, even in US. Somebody was asking me whether Kenya is in Nairobi. Well, Nairobi is the capital city of Kenya. The aspect of meeting people who do not have actually the knowledge of where you come from. So that is a challenge to them. It takes them time to understand where do you come from. And somebody asks you, do you live on top of trees? And you say, no, we live in houses. Simply because of that aspect of not understanding the Africa as a whole. By the way, before I came here, I knew Germany in and out because I did European history. Not only as a subject, but as a nationally examinable subject. So I knew German in and out because of European history.